Okay, let's just jump right in. Have you ever had that feeling where your English is pretty fluent, but you keep tripping over these tiny little mistakes that just refuse to go away? Well, you are definitely not alone. In this explainer, we're going to break down 7 of the most common traps that even advanced speakers fall into, and more importantly, how to get past them for good.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? When you're in a meeting or you're just trying to get your thoughts out quickly, that's when these little habits tend to pop up. They're not breaking communication, right? People still understand you, but they are the very things that stand between good English and truly polished, confident English. So, that is the million-dollar question. And let me tell you, it's not about memorizing some boring old grammar textbook. Not at all. It's about spotting specific patterns, understanding the logic behind them, and really just giving your brain a much clearer path to follow. And that is exactly what we are going to do right now. So, here's our game plan. We've split this into 4 parts. We'll start with some hidden rules that often get missed. Then, we'll dive into choosing the perfect verb for the job. After that, we'll look at the glue of language, those little words that hold everything together. And finally, we'll touch on the stuff that helps you sound way more natural. First up, the hidden rules. You know, these are the kinds of things that we often let slide because the meaning gets through anyway. But trust me, getting these right is a total game changer for sounding more precise and, well, more correct. So let's tackle our very first trap, modal verbs. We're talking about words like must, should, could, would. Now, the mistake everyone makes is sticking a to after them. And it's understandable, right? Because our brains are so used to saying things like, I want to, or I need to. But think of these modal verbs as strong and independent. They don't need any help from to. They just connect directly to the next verb. And here is a fantastic little trick to remember that. It's the can test. Just think about it. You would never, ever say, I can too swim, right? It just sounds wrong to your ear. So apply that same feeling to the rest of the family. If can doesn't need to, then neither does must or should or would. It's a simple check that just works every time. O articles. They can be a total minefield. Let's look at 3 classic traps. First, professions. They always need an article. It's I'm a doctor. Without the A, it just sounds off. Second, some phrases are just set in stone. It's always get the impression. And third, this one's a big one, when you're talking about body parts, you have to use a possessive like my or her or his. So you'd say, I hurt my back, never I hurt the back. And this is a perfect example of a common mix-up. The phrase the another just doesn't exist in English. It's a flat-out no. Here's why. Another is literally an plus other squished together. So you use it when you mean any new one. But if you're talking about a specific second thing, that's when you use the other. Simple as that. All right, let's roll into our second section, choosing the perfect verb. This is where we get into those tricky word pairs that look and feel similar, but actually play by completely different rules. Okay, say versus tell. This is a classic, but the rule is actually super simple. Tell absolutely has to be followed by the person who's listening. You always tell someone. She told me, he told the team. Say, on the other hand, usually doesn't have a listener right after it. You just say something. She said that. Now, if you really want to add a listener after say, you have to bring in its little helper, to. She said to me that. Next up, a pair that is so easy to mix up when you're speaking fast. Spend versus send. The rule is dead simple. You spend resources, like your time or your money, but you send things, like messages, emails, and packages. Getting this right is such a quick and easy way to sound more precise. Now, this next pair is even trickier because they're not just different, they're practically opposites. To look for something means you're searching for it, right? It's lost. But to look after something means you're taking care of it, you're protecting it. You can see how this can get confusing. Saying you're looking after your keys makes it sound like you're their babysitter. Okay, on to our third section, which I like to call the glue of language. We're talking about those small but mighty words, prepositions and agreement, that make sure all our sentences actually stick together and make logical sense. So let's talk about a super common trap. Words like everyone, everybody, somebody, nobody. They feel plural, don't they? I mean, they're talking about a group of people. So our gut instinct is to use a plural verb, like are or were. But nope, the rule is simple. Grammatically, each of these words is treated as one single unit, a singular subject.
And you can see it right here. It's everyone is here, not are. Nobody knows the answer, not know. Now that last example is really interesting. When you have neither/nor, the verb actually agrees with whatever noun is physically closer to it. In this sense, resident is closer than doctor, and resident is singular, so we use the singular verb was. Now, let's talk about time. The difference between for and since is all about duration versus a starting point. Think of it this way. For is like a stopwatch. It tells you how long something has been going on. For 2 hours, for 10 years. But since is like a calendar. It tells you the exact moment when it started. Since 3 p.m., since 2020. All right, let's bring it all home with our final section, sounding like a native. This is all about those natural word pairings that make speech just flow. And more importantly, what your next step should be. You know, in English, some words are just best friends. They always hang out together. These are fixed partnerships. For example, you don't take a second opinion, you get one. You always recover from an illness, not of it. You have or undergo surgery, you don't make it. After a shock, you are in shock. And notice this last one, side effects. The word side is always singular, even if there's more than one effect. Mastering these little pairs is a huge leap towards sounding more natural. Now, this slide has a term that perfectly captures everything we've been talking about. Fossilized errors. I love this term because it's so accurate. These aren't really mistakes anymore, they've become habits set in stone. And the reason they persist is because people can usually still understand what you mean, so you never get that urgent feedback telling you to fix it. And so, they get stuck. So, what do you do about them? How do you break a habit that's been fossilized? The key is this. Don't try to fix everything at once. You'll just get overwhelmed. Instead, pick just one, maybe two, of the traps we talked about today. Just one. And then, for the next week, start listening for it everywhere. In movies, in podcasts, in work meetings. Tune your ear to the correct pattern, and pretty soon, your brain will start to follow along. And that's really the big takeaway here. You have to be strategic. We've covered a bunch of common traps today. Think about your own speech for a second. Which one of these made you go, oh yeah, I do that? That's your starting point. So I'll leave you with a question to get you started. Which trap will you start listening for first?